Welcome back. This is Sharon Vornholt with the Louisville Gauss Real Estate Blog. And today I want to talk a little bit about direct mail. And I got to read a question that was specifically about what do you do if you don't think your direct mail is working as well as it should? Now, if you remember the past couple of weeks, I've been talking about off-market deals. And for off-market deals, direct mail is still one of the best ways to reach those folks. It's certainly the number one way to reach probates. And as far as folks like absentee owners, it is the most economical and the best way to stay on track with your marketing, through direct mail. But sometimes you look up and it's just not working as well as you think it should be. So today I have 5 tips for you that will help you figure out if you need to change something. So number one would be to take a look at your list. Now, how often do you need to get a new list? Well, it depends on your list. If you're doing probates, you're adding new people every month. My recommendation if you're just brand spanking new, starting out in probates, is to go back 6 months, get all of the leads for the previous 6 months, and then go forward from there, adding the new leads every single month. The reason for that is that with probates, oftentimes people don't decide to sell in those first few months. They have other things that on their mind. They've got a lot of grief at times, so they just don't get started. So that's one scenario. Now, if you're talking about a list like absentee owners, very often I find that folks have their criteria wrong. They will say, I've gone back 7 years and I want houses with a basement or something like that. Now, for me, I don't look at years because I look at equity. You can totally miss out on houses by going back so many years because there are people that make cash transactions like landlords who regret the fact that they bought the house. They've paid for it for cash. They've had it for 3 years. They've had nothing but problems. So you can miss out on deals doing that. So what I do is I like ListSource or companies that go through ListSource to get your list, because you can ask for houses that have 50 to 100% equity. Why do you need that? You need that because if you're using, starting with a 70% rule and then going at your numbers from that perspective, it's almost always going to be, by the time you back out your repairs, and if you're a wholesaler, your wholesale fee, you're almost always going to be below 50% of the after repaired value. So use that number and then decide what the average home value would be that you want to market. In my area, I would typically look for things that were $50,000 to $250,000. Because that median range in there, remember, we're only going to be paying about half for the house. So that we're looking at $180,000, $150,000 purchase for that house. Or if it is a house that's going to retail for $150,000, then we're going to be looking at a $75,000 purchase in most cases. So make sure you've got those numbers right. Now, for me, I do 2 or more bedrooms. Even though I don't like 2-bedroom houses, there are some areas that have nice, bigger 2-bedroom houses. And I know several rehabbers personally that will look at a 2-bedroom house if they can make a 3rd bedroom, either with in the basement with if there's an egress window, or they can put in an egress window, or there's a door. Or if there is an upstairs, like in a Cape Cod, where they can add 1, maybe 2 bedrooms. So for that reason, I put 2 or more bedrooms. But you have to figure out what your criteria is and then go at it from there. I don't get too strict on things, like I don't require that it have a basement or something like that. I do like to get houses over 1,000 square feet, but that's something you can self-select, as you go along. So look at your list and determine if your lists are good. And with absentee owner lists, you should have the list company scrub your list every 6 months. I like to get a new list twice a year. So that would be the first thing, look at your list. Now, the second thing is, what about adding other niches? If you're not getting the results you want, let's say for a minute you're mailing to absentee owners and to probates, why not add code violations? Or some people might want to get a list of vacants. Maybe, you know, target people that are landlords, call up landlords, and that's a little bit more labor intensive. But add other niches to your direct mail campaigns, and we're talking about off-market deals, okay? We're not talking about things that are on the MLS. So add another niche. The next thing, the third thing would be to change your mail piece up. If your postcard isn't working and you've been using it a while, hey, just change it up, get a different one. Maybe you want to change it up a bit and send a letter. I do recommend that you do that. Now, I don't recommend that you send postcards to probates. The one exception would be, I don't personally mail to surviving spouses. So you can get about 6, 8, 9 months down the road, and then you can circle back and send to that person a very generic postcard that says something like, I'm an investor and I'm looking to buy property in your area if you would be interested in selling, or you know someone who might be interested in selling. You don't mention the probate, you don't mention anything about the estate. It's just like a mail piece that someone would send out when they were farming an entire area. But if your mail piece isn't working, change up your mail piece. Change the wording up a little bit in your letter. Take a hard look at it and make sure that it's, you know, that there's not something that's off about your mail piece. I would say that. Have someone else look at it. Number 4 would be to look at the frequency of your mailing. Now, you all know my rule, mail everybody every month. Not every other month, and not every 3 months, mail everybody every month. Because I have to tell you, investors like me that mail every month, we love those folks that don't mail, that mail sporadically, because when the person, the motivated seller, gets ready to sell, then they remember those of us that have mailed every month. So get a calendar, mark it down. I'm going to mail to absentee owners the first Monday of every month. I'm going to mail my probates the second Monday. I'm going to mail this, you know, on this date, which means you have to back out when you're going to actually, if you're doing the mail pieces yourself, when you're going to produce those mail pieces, or when are you going to order them from the company, knowing that there's about a 7-day delay between the time you order typically and when they get out the door. So get the calendar, not in your Google Calendar. Get something that you have to look at, something that you have to be accountable to every day, that says this is what I need to do every week or on this particular day. So make sure your frequency is right, that you're consistent, because remember that more than 80% of your deals will come at or beyond your 5th mailing. So if you're not being consistent, you're not going to be memorable and you're not going to get the deal. And the last thing is, you know, really take a look at the messaging in your mail piece. Now, you've looked at your mail piece. If you are mailing to probate, your message would be very different than if you're mailing to pre-foreclosures. The same thing is true about absentee owners or any one of the niches. You cannot use a generic letter or postcard for everyone, because you just simply won't get great results. That's just a fact. So make sure that you've gone to the time, you've gotten your list, you got your niches straightened out, you've chosen your mail piece, you're mailing every month. Be sure that your message is right for that person, that the words are there, that you're not sending a message to a pre-foreclosure that was meant for an absentee owner. And always be mindful of what you put on a postcard. You don't want to put anything on there, for instance, like if it's a pre-foreclosure, don't send them a postcard that says, hey, I see that your house is going into foreclosure. You would think that would be obvious, but not so much all the time. So be kind with your direct mail, be respectful of the person and their situation, and be consistent. Those are my tips. So this is Sharon Vornholt, and I'll be back soon with some more marketing tips for you.